I'm going to share a little bit about my experience today, chatting with my spirit guides, and also, I think, answer the question that so many other people have, which is, how do I get to do that too? How do I get to do that too? How do I get to connect with my guides? And like the reason I love thinking about spirit guides and connecting with spirit guides is a couple of things. One, it gives us this really beautiful sense that we're not alone, because so many of us, when we come into human form and we have this individuated sense of self and we forget our spiritual origins, there's a deep loneliness, right? There's a deep sense of disconnection. On the other side, we feel our connectedness so acutely, and it's just natural and normal and how things are. But from this human skin, a lot of times we feel really disconnected. We feel really isolated. And so I think that, just the very idea, I know it was for me, of understanding that we have this spiritual support team on the other side, always there for us. It's so empowering. It's so empowering. And so that's the first reason that I love teaching and connecting with my spirit guides, because it reminds me that I'm not alone. It reminds me that I'm supported. It reminds me that I'm part of something bigger than my small human self. And that is something that brings me a tremendous amount of comfort and joy. So that's number one. The guides also say, there's this sense in the human world that, when we connect with spirit guides, right, it takes us out of the human self, the human skin. When you come to somebody, and they're just talking, about their expertise or their knowledge or their knowing, it's a very different thing that when we connect with our spiritual support team, and when we, have this idea that we're connecting again with the spirit realm, right? There's a sense of comfort. There's a sense of awakening. There's a sense of, oh yes, there is something more. And so when you connect with an intuitive or an Akashic Records reader or a psychic or whatever you want that starts to talk about the guides, it reminds us again that we have this deep spiritual connection. Now, there are a lot of readers and people that identify particular guides and particular energies and particular entities. I've always been shown that there are individuated energies on the other side, just as there are individuated energies here, but we're all connected to just the one thing. And also, and I want to get this from the guides, but they say go ahead. I think they say go ahead. I'm not actually 100% sure, so I am going to go ahead. But there's also a sense in which, again, it brings us comfort for our guides to have a name. It gives us sort of that sense of human credibility, right, when the guides have a name. And that is all fine. That is all well, but it is not necessary or needed. And it's sometimes not even necessary or needed to know if it comes from your higher self, if it comes from source, if it comes from spirit guides, if it comes from God, if it comes from the Akashic Records. Like at a certain point, sometimes we need to know, but oftentimes we don't. So a lot of times I will talk about the guides, but really I will just be tuning into what comes through on the highest level. But I do have a sense that there are spirit guides, and I do see them, and I do connect with them too. And the first step that they say in connecting with guides is to let go of expectations, to let go of your expectations of how that interaction will be. They say there's so many teachings on the human side about what that connection with your guides is supposed to look like. And oftentimes it's our supposed to's that actually block our connection to how things actually are, how it is. So, and I would backtrack and say the very first step is setting the intention to connect with your guides. And the second step is to let go of expectations. Let go of expectations of how it's supposed to be and tune into how it is. Now, as I say, letting go of expectations, some of you say, well, how will I know if it's my guides or not? Well, you get a sense. And, ego will say, I know a lot of people that will egoically say, my guide said this. And, again, it's this idea of I want to have spirit guides and I want my guides to say stuff. So if we're coming at it from a place of ego, we will water it down. But the guides say, even in those cases, anything good probably did come from your higher self, your soul, your spirit guides. So you can always own it. You can always see it that way. They say that many of you want to have that more intentional connection with the spirit guides because, again, they say, like Victoria, you want to have that personal connection. You want to know that personal connection is possible. And you want to know it's there. You want to know it's something that is, available and accessible to you. And that is totally fine. In that case, they say you can start to look at for the guides in your dreams. You can start to do a little visualization. I teach this in my spirit guides class, my online spirit guides class. And maybe one day I'll do it on Facebook too, because, I don't mind sharing. But it's simply a matter of going into a hypnotic or a meditative state, getting really, really present and centered, and ask to be shown. That's it. Ask to be shown your guides. And whatever you imagine, whatever comes through is a great place to start. It's a great place to start. When I was starting out, I meditated and I connected with my guides, and I got names and I got faces and I got all sorts of stuff. And my left brain would say, like, well, how do you know this? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you start from a pure place, meaning no ego, no expectations, and you just see what comes through, then that's your starting point. That's enough. And they say, even if there is some ego and even if there is some expectation, it's still okay. Because over time, as you deepen the dance with that particular guide and you deepen the dance with that connection, it's going to show you. It's going to show you. And that is a beautiful thing too. But they're also saying that the best way to connect with your guides is to find, the same thing was with your intuition, is to find moments of stillness, practices that help you get present, get centered, let go of expectations, because that is the easiest place for them to connect with you. And they also say, while we do sometimes get those big, strong peak experiences, right? Where, I was sitting there and I was crying and I was at the end of my rope and I heard a voice that said, hey, Anna, listen, it's all going to be okay. Well, we do hear those stories and people do have those experiences. It's important not to chase those, because a lot of times our spirit speaks to us in really gentle, subtle ways. And at the end of the day, those are sometimes the ones to cherish the most. So, sometimes it's a big, strong, the Red Sea parts and we have what perceives as a miracle. But oftentimes those miracles are really subtle. They're really small. They're really beautiful. And it can be as simple as, you're looking at a flower and you're really experiencing the beauty of the flower, and you are just feeling the beauty of life as you experience that beauty in that flower. That's your guides in your spirit too. That's your guides in your spirit too. And sometimes those moments are just as potent and magical. So step 1 is to set the intention. Step 2 is to let go of expectations of how you think it's supposed to be. Step 3, and again, these are not in any particular order or, I'm just throwing out bullet points. Step 3 is to find those moments where you can really let go, where you can really be present, where the mind can be still, because those are the deepest connections. And step 4 is to allow your imagination to go free. Allow it to go free. And again, it's not about, ego is going to come in telling us how it's supposed to be. It's going to be important. We're going to want to own it because we're going to want to have a connection with our guides and get to say, you have guides too. You have guides too. You have guides too. And whatever really amazing comes to you from your life and into your life is always from that highest place. It's always from your soul, your spirit guides, and they're working in concert. Your higher self, it's all coming from the same place. And your guides, the way that I've always been shown, are little pieces of you, pointing you back in the direction of your highest and truest self. That's really all they are and all they can be. And we can understand it in different ways. We can understand, hey, we have these guides that are here, or, we have these energies or the ascended masters or our angels. And if understanding things that way is of service to you, go for it. But the way I like to understand it is everything in this world is just, in this world and outside of this world is all a little piece of me supporting me and finding my way home. That's how I understand it. But imagination is key. So use your imagination in the best possible way. Figure out what excites you, what lights you up. And, because imagination is the gateway to intuition. So don't be afraid of making it up. If you're making it up from a place of ego and you want to go out there and say, like, I have these super powerful guides, and, then, it's going to limit you somewhat. But if you do it from a place of joy, play, curiosity, fun, you're going to get there really, 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 really quick. Okay, so the first one is intention. Second one is releasing expectations. Third one is getting present. Fourth is playing joy, curiosity, imagination. And the fifth is, again, looking for what's already happening. For me, when I first was connected with my spirit guides, and I was connected by a teacher, with my very primary guide, and the rest I kind of found on my own. And again, as you all know, and you'll hear more in the episode, I don't really identify my guides or need to know a lot about them unless that information is relevant to me or my clients in that moment that I'm asking a question. But in general, I just tune into the guides, and I feel their energy, and I know that they're here to support me, and I'm here to work with them. And I also know sometimes that there are more or energies have come in or shifted or changed over time. And that's a really good thing too. But I don't necessarily left brain it so much and have to have all the answers when I'm dealing with my spirit guides. I trust more my intuition, the energy, and just how it feels to me. Okay, that kinesthetic sense. The last thing the guides want you to know is that we all have this powerful and profound connection. Whether you know it or not, whether your guides have names, whether you know when you're talking to the guides or not, just know that they're always there. They're always supporting you. And just like your intuition, the moments when you feel loved, in the moments when you feel the magic of life, in the moments when you have an aha moment, in the moments when you feel supported, those are all moments when your guides are the closest to you and you're acknowledging their presence. And again, the more that you pay attention to how it's already happening, the more you deepen that relationship. And again, to whatever you think is your guide, start with that. If you think this is your guide, go with it. Go with it. Again, I was remembering as a child, when I would talk to trees, when I would talk to rocks, when I would talk to have, the strong imaginary play. And looking back as an adult and understanding that that was my innate childhood knowing of how to connect with my spirit guides. And we all have it. We all have it. So that is what I'm leaving you off with today. Those are some action steps. Have a wonderful day.